6:06. We can have roll call. Or, excuse me, Pledge of Allegiance first, then roll call. So if everybody stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now roll call, Jesse.
Member Horning?
Yes.
Okay. And just for our new members, just ensure that you're speaking into the mic so that we can get all of the conversation on record. And when I call your name, you can just say present or here.
Okay, present.
Member Gerstenlauer?
Here.
Member Bryant? Unexcused absence? Member Lamug?
Here.
Member Stark? Unexcused absence? Member Jones?
Here.
Member Clark?
Present.
Member Gotez?
Getz. Here.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Member Day? Unexcused absence.
All right, so Member Getz, I'm assuming, is filling seat number 2?
No, I'm filling an alternate seat. Alternate number 1.
Okay.
So she will be a voting member this evening.
Thank you. And so for the opening of business, we need the review of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes that were provided?
Yes.
And are there any comments or corrections that need to be brought up?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'd so move.
So moved by Member Jones. Do I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Member Getz. Or, no, I'm sorry.
Lamug.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Minutes have been approved. All right. We didn't have any old business on the agenda, correct? Yes, please. The board recognizes Andre Anderson.
Apologize, I'm just kind of out of order here. Andre Anderson, Community Development Director. Because we have a couple of new members, I'd like to personally welcome them to the board. And I know that last meeting, Ms. Horning was not here, and I would like to personally thank you for being a member of this board. I think one of the comments that were made last time when the City Council voted for your participation was, why wasn't she on the board before? So I think they were a little surprised that you weren't. So we're very pleased to have you on the board at this time. I'd also like to welcome Michaela Getz to the board as well. Thank you for your participation and your commitment to our community. I really do appreciate that. I think this board is a very exciting board. They get very, very passionate about historic preservation. So I think it will be a very good, lively discussion. I've never met you before. I've heard your name many times. I've always pronounced it correctly. Welcome to the board as well from me personally to you. I know that my staff in the past have attended these meetings and they know you well. I have never met you myself, so welcome to the board as well. And that's all I really had to say. I just wanted to kind of welcome the new members to the board.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And like I said, I don't believe, do we have any old business that we needed to bring up at this time? I didn't see it on the agenda, so I wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't receive any feedback for old business, but if any of the board members want to make a comment, there is a section for that in the agenda if there's an item they want to bring up.
Okay. Absent any old business, we'll move on to new business, which I guess, Andre, that brings you back up, or is it bringing Sydney? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, other board members. I'm Sydney Kendrick, Associate Planner for the City of St. Cloud, and I will be presenting for a Certificate of Appropriateness, a major residential. Do we have slides? You have the clicker. Is it up here? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay. So the Certificate of Appropriateness is for 1015 11th Street. It is for a request for exterior alterations to the historic structure, including removing and replacing termite damaged wood and replacing size-for-size windows and doors in the same location. The applicant recently purchased the property with the intent to restore and renovate the structure. The structure was built in 1920 and has maintained as a residential use until falling into disrepair. The estimated cost of work is valued to be around $14,000. The Florida bungalow located at 1015 11th Street was constructed in 1920. This picture comes from the property appraiser site. These are other photos showing the sides of the home. As you can see, the siding needs to be repaired, the windows, the doors. This is an example of the windows that will go in as a replacement. Also, that is showing you one of the doors. An example of the front door and also the siding that will replace the rotten termite damaged wood. The property will be used as it was historically or be given a new use that requires minimal change to its distinctive materials, features, spaces, and spatial relationships. The current residential use of the building will not change. The alterations proposed will make the structure habitable after falling into disrepair. The historic character of the property will be retained and preserved. The removal of the distinctive materials or alteration of features, spaces, and spatial relationships that characterize the property will be avoided. The property's character will be preserved. The most significant alterations include the replacement of termite damaged wood on the front door and roof and the replacement of all windows and 2 doors size for size in the same location. Each property will be recognized as physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding conjunctural features or elements from other historic properties, will not be undertaken. Changes proposed to this property do not appear to be imitating other historical styles and do not appear to create a false sense of historical development. Changes to a property that have acquired historic significance in their own right will be retained and preserved. The proposed alterations will retain and preserve the historic significance of this property. Distinctive materials, features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize a property will be preserved. All windows and 2 doors will be replaced size for size in the existing location. Proposed exterior surface will repair and protect the existing building. Deteriorated historic features will be repaired rather than replaced. Whether the severity of deterioration requires replacement of distinctive feature, the new feature will match the old in design, color, texture, where possible, and materials. Replacement of missing features will be substantiated by documentary and physical evidence. As previously stated, the proposed exterior work will repair and protect the existing building. Chemical or physical treatments, if appropriate, will be undertaken using the gentlest means possible. Treatments that cause damage to historical materials will not be used. This standard does not appear to apply to this project. This standard will be provided to the applicant for information should treatments be necessary through the renovation process. Archaeological resources will be protected and preserved in place. If such resources must be disturbed, mitigation measures will be undertaken. This standard does not apply to this project. New additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials. Features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. The proposed renovation does not appear to destroy historic materials and preserves spatial relationships. The scope of work does not propose an addition of the historic structure. New additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that, if removed in the future, The essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment will be unimpaired. The scope of work does not propose in addition to the historic structure. Staff recommends approval of the request for certificate of appropriateness for the proposed exterior alterations of 1015 11th Street per section 3.24.3.f.2 of the Land Development Code. The Historic Preservation Board has the power and duty to hold public hearings and to approve or deny application for certificates of appropriateness affecting properties with historic districts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll open the floor to our board members.
I just have a question for the future. So is there a period that a building or a house in our city starts to fall under these, like built before a certain time, or is it everybody who's in the historic district? I'm just new here.
Everybody who's in the historic district
Falls under this purview.
has to be reviewed for their certificate of appropriateness.
Okay.
The obviously this building is on the list of historic buildings within there, so it does have a little more of a, if you will, we're eyeing it a little bit harder in that regard. Yes,
Okay.
Andre. The applicant. I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't realize the applicant was here.
Yes,
Did you
sorry,
want
she
to
is
come up
here.
to speak at this time? Is there?
You have to.
Yeah, you can come up, identify yourself, and then if any of the members have questions, they'll ask you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Aceto. I'm the owner of the historic house.
John, welcome. So again, are there any questions of the members to Jennifer in regards to the proposed modifications and corrections to the building?
I actually had one question, just a clarification. The siding that you're doing here, is that just going to be on these wood parts in the back and the front porch, not messing, I noticed there's like a, some kind
On the
of,
side,
yeah, on the
Yeah,
side, there's like
that-
an interesting
that's
feature.
it's all around the siding. It needs to be replaced.
So even on the sidewalls where it looks like it's like a cinder block,
Oh, no,
kind
no,
of.
no.
No,
you're
the
leaving
That
that-
will remain, yes.
Okay.
No, that's
Okay.
block, yes, no. Just
So-
the siding, it's all rotten, so it needs to be replaced.
Okay. I guess from a, typically, Annette, there's, needs the need to not only size as far as your windows and doors, but also like materials. And,
Yeah, it will be the same size as what is there. We're just gonna replace,
Yeah.
the windows and the doors.
the window that you have in there, in the packet doesn't appear to be a wooden framed window, and nor is it a double hung like with various windows are in there. So the question is that actually is that the material that you're looking to do, which appears to, I don't know, is that a metal frame, or what is that window that you're looking to do?
Yes, it will be metal frame. Would that be okay, or does it need to be wood?
My understanding is that it needs to be wood.
Okay.
Because you're trying to preserve the integrity of the building and the architecturally, you have double hung, where you have double hung windows.
Okay.
And the wood framing, that would be the expectation that you would be coming back in with the wood, as far as the framing. Same thing with the door. It looks like you were proposing metal doors.
Just
the-
regular, the Home Depot doors
Yeah.
that they have.
The door that you have in the front is a wood door with a glass window inset. And on previous reviews, and that the board members have had the expectation that we're going back in again with a wood door and with a window inset, not the same as what you were presenting. So those are things to be, that need to be in consideration in order to keep with the historic preservation guidelines.
Okay, so it has to be wood doors and wood, the windows.
The windows where they're wooden framed would need to maintain that. And as I said, in looking at your building, obviously the window up in the front, in the attic space areas, and that those two windows were double hung. Your windows down at the porch level didn't appear to be a double hung. They almost appear to be if you will, what we call a storefront window. And then with the inset of the stained glass, which, I don't know if that's original, but from a standpoint of how we would look at it, that would be considered to be something that we would be wanting to preserve.
Preserve, okay, because all the wood around the windows is rotten.
Yeah, the casing and everything is around.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we will have to replace that.
Correct.
And then in the front of the house, there is some siding as well, that's gonna
Correct.
be replaced. It's a small, if you see like the porch,
Up above the porch in the,
yeah, sorry. That's
okay. I don't know if I have it.
yeah, you have a,
You don't have the front?
wood,
the main-
wood panel with the what appears to be 1x2 purlins in vertical.
Yes, it's the small, like the small around in the main porch in the front.
You're talking about on the porch, not on the front of the building, but on the porch
In the
itself.
porch, yeah, the wood, the side, it's rotten.
Yeah. I guess that was another question I was going to bring up because it's kind of separate and it wasn't addressed in the
I put it in the
application.
application, but we can add it.
And that, I was just, because that porch and that from the picture actually, it was enclosed at some point in time. I didn't know whether you were planning to re-enclose it again or if you were going to actually open it up, and if so.
No, what I was just gonna do is leave it like that and just replace the wood that's damaged.
Okay.
Just exact how it is,
Yeah, well, I
which
guess-
will be the same siding
Well,
that I proposed.
I don't know, I could ask for staff input on that. If she's not going to enclose the porch, that material that's there may not be original. Andre, you have something you wanted to address on that?
Yes. I'll use this microphone.
That's fine.
Again, for the record, Andre Anderson, Community Development Director. So a couple things that I don't think came out in the report that I just need to point out. One is that the building is not a contributing structure.
It's not considered a contributing
It's not a
structure?
contributing structure, but it is part of the historic district. So we typically would encourage and ask that applicants make as much improvements as necessary to conform to at least be recognize the historic character of the area. When I check the Florida Master Site file, it does show that it's actually ineligible for designation on the National Historic Register
Okay.
of Historic Places. However, it goes on to say that there's insufficient data for its eligibility. So it says it's not eligible, but then it says there's insufficient data because it has not been evaluated by the State Historic Preservation Officer. So again, the board still has the discretion to decide how you'd like to proceed. And so I just want to point that out, as you deliberate on this item.
All right. I didn't realize that it was considered a non-contributing structure.
Yeah, it's not contributing. Yes.
What does that
Well,
mean?
yeah, I was about to ask that
Yes.
too.
So what a non-contributing structure means is that while it is historic in character, it is not typically eligible to be designated as a historic on the historic register of National Register of Historic Places, but it still has historic character because it was built, in 1920. So it still has that value, but there may be other circumstances that says this would not be eligible for that district because of an example, for instance, is some buildings might have asbestos, and so that immediately disqualifies the building. But then, again, if they mitigated that situation, it could be designated at some point in the future. And I'm sure Olive can speak to that as well. But at this point, that particular building has not been reviewed by SHPO, the preservation officer. So that's why it's sort of up in the air as to what you would
And
require.
as such, it gives us a little more leeway as well
Yes,
because it's
exactly.
non-contributing. So
Right.
there may be some flexibility that we can talk about.
Exactly.
Obviously, the question to you is whether or not you're wanting to restore it as far as to be able to make it, to try and work towards eligibility, in which case then, at least from a personal member standpoint, I would say that, yeah, you would want us to make sure that you're doing, the wood framed windows and the wood doors and trying to keep it as close to original as possible so that you could do that. In the event that you're not doing that, But what we want in our historic district is for things to look as historic appropriately. So we would, I guess, again, from my, personal standpoint would be, I would encourage you to try to be as close to historic properly. If it's a double hung window, especially as it faces the roadway, I'd really like to see those replaced as a double hung.
That's my goal. My goal is
The
to-
stained glass that you have up in the front, they're nice pieces of stained glass, and I think they're appropriate to it. From a porch standpoint, if you're not going to enclose it, in my again, personal opinion, is that the boards that you have in there that you're wanting to replace and remove probably can be removed, because that original porch was probably just the stone columns with the wood columns and didn't have siding coming across and interconnecting to that. So you probably had an open, clear porch.
But the only thing that I'm worried is because of FHA, if there's no rails around it, they might, they can cause some accidents.
Correct.
I'm actually a
If
realtor,
you're looking,
so
if you're looking to rent it out and need an
yeah,
FHA,
so
then
if,
yes.
if I eventually want to sell it, I know that for FHA, they might say, hey, there's no rails or anything that can protect kids or,
And in which case, then I would say that that would be appropriate, as long as you're maintaining the look. Again,
historic.
it's the historic look.
yeah. My goal was just to replace and just keep it as it is, but don't enclose the porch, because I don't think it will look nice.
Yeah, and as such, looking at that photo again, as I said,
front.
like on the sides of your columns,
Yes.
where you have like wood coming in off of the columns themselves, evaluate that to see whether or not those can be removed without damaging the columns.
The columns, yes.
Because
Columns
it
was
wouldn't affect your FHA, but it would help to bring the columns back to a
Original.
more original state and look more historically appropriate.
It's gonna look very nice.
And then my last, the siding that you showed on there, what you're calling out hardy board siding. Hardy board has a lot of different styles and textures. The one that
Yes.
you're showing isn't actually appropriate for maintaining what you've got there. There's another one that they do have that's similar.
Okay.
That I would suggest you work with Home Depot if that's who
Yeah,
you're
that's
sourcing
the
it,
one
to
I
get the
got
correct
from Home
one.
Depot, and it's very similar to what is there right now, right? The siding that's there, it's metal, and we don't have it anymore, because it's from back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, that wood siding and that with the wood purlins that are going vertical, there's actually a hardy board pattern that's very similar to that you can work with
Yes.
to maintain that
I think in
look.
the picture it's the same pattern that I'm gonna be using.
I like that this house has the rusticated blocks on it too, the rusticated cement blocks. Because Mr. Mallet is the one that had that form and made all
Miss-
those
I'm
blocks
sorry,
and
Ms.
sold
Horning,
them.
just make sure you're speaking into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not coming through clearly.
I'm not. Okay, Olive Horning, and I just wanted to say, I'm glad that that house has the rusticated cement blocks on it, because a lot of the houses in St. Cloud do, and they all came from the cement factory that was opened by Mr. Mallet, Norman Mallet.
My house has those.
Are there any other,
So what I was hearing you say, just again,
Yes, go
new person. So if to bring it up to essentially the standards of the historic preservation that they're trying to create the look of, it would be about the double hung windows, recreating the double hung windows with wood siding as well as the wood doors. That's really the only adjustments to the current proposal. Is that correct? As well as the porch.
if they're trying to maintain that historical integrity,
Right.
Again, the encouragement is to try and maintain that look. That steel door that you're proposing doesn't necessarily, come off. There's other patterns that maybe that are out there that could be more appropriate and still be in steel. So since it's since it's not a contributing structure, I'm not worried about the materials as much as the look. So if you are going metal, and that, again, I would suggest where it's double hung, replace them with double hung metal if that's the case. And trying to understand that the widths and the dimensions of those windows are, part of that element too. Try not to end up with a product that isn't matching, that's not in, my brain just went and locked, a proportion that's not in proportion.
Well, I know in my house we had the double hung windows, and we had to make the frames ourselves to recreate but my husband's in construction, but so that worked out. But we had to get those same proportions. We had to frame it out ourselves in wood.
Correct. I'm just saying that if we're going with a different material, sometimes the choices you make, the metal windows can have a narrower element to the frame. I'm just saying, try to avoid narrow. Try to keep that in mind if you're doing that, in my opinion. Again, non-contributing structure, so I don't believe that we need to maintain the materials perfectly, but we do need to maintain, at least the imagery.
Okay, so I'm okay with metal windows or not?
A metal frame window, yeah.
Metal.
Again, just making sure you're matching the
Yeah, because
frame
right
type.
next to the house that right next to the house, they just sold one, and they had metal windows.
Mm-hmm.
So it will look, pretty much to
Yeah,
the one next door.
I didn't look at the one. I
I
didn't look at the
know.
one next door.
I
So.
know, but there's one that just sold that is historic too, and it had, pretty much I'm just gonna keep it the way you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any further questions or comments by members or by staff? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion in regards to the disposition.
Second.
But no, you
Oh,
would be
what do I do?
You would,
You make a motion.
you would
I make
need-
a motion.
You would need.
Oh, I make a motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion to approve the application. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, who was it that seconded?
Oh, sorry, Elizabeth Limoge.
All right. All right, is there any further discussion? All right, further discussion, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify likewise. Motion carries. The application is approved. Are there any other items of new business at this time that someone needs to bring up? All right.
Member Chair,
Yes.
for our new members, I just want to remind them again, the Form 1, the Statement of Financial Interest. It's very important that everyone submits this form. If not, you can incur lots of fees. So this form is very important. And I have copies if you need that. And if you need it electronically, I can email you that information again. So I just want to just make sure everybody gets that into your supervisor of elections office.
Thank you very much. It's relatively painless. We do it every year. All right, if there's no other new business, I'll open the floor to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to make any comment? No? All right, absent of that, I'll close that and go to individual board comments. So are there any board members that have comments? And if so, I'll start with Member Jones.
Yes, Mr. Chair. First, I want to thank staff for handing out this list of members of the Historic Preservation Board and along with their addresses. On here, there's just a minor correction. If we could upgrade Mr. Clark to the chair and add Paula Stark as the vice chair.
Yes, I will inform our city clerk's office to make that update.
Okay, if they could do that, that would be great. And this is a great list to have, especially along with the members' phone numbers. It's very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other board members that wish to speak at this time? Member Gibbs?
I just wanted and you tell me the level of appropriateness again. But I had the opportunity. I met the owners of the GAR building in downtown St. Cloud, and I became their friend. I actually went inside the building the other day, and it is, as far as historic preservation, I mean, it is one of the most amazing buildings I've ever been in. I was on a personal mission to try to get inside the building, and then I ended up bringing Mayor Blackwell with me inside the building. And the owners of the building are really interested in creating a deal with the city, even though they'd never been in the past. But there's artifacts in there from the Civil War. There's weapons. There's a picture of the first mayor of St. Cloud. There's pictures from the very first person who graduated from St. Cloud High School. They had a time capsule inside the building that they pulled out, and now it's all in that building just sitting there. And I'm a bit worried about it because there's no AC in the building, but it's all in that building. And I saw it for the first time, and I thought maybe this might be the board to talk about that with.
Absolutely. And actually, Miss Horning can help you a lot.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you were able to go inside. That's good.
Yeah,
No one has been in a long, long time.
that's what I heard.
Yes.
But we're friends now, and I actually have a key to the building. I'm not allowed to let people in without their permission, but they're very interested in trying to partner with the city, although they've been very apparently burned in the past by the city. They're really interested in trying to find some kind of partnership with the city to preserve the building. That's all they want, is somebody who cares about the history of the building, which is why in the past, apparently 30 years ago, I don't know if this is true, they said the city wanted to turn it into a police substation, and they were upset about that. So now if the city would be interested in preserving the building, they would like that, because the couple who owns the building is much older now. They're not able to maintain it themselves, but they did all of the renovations to the building themselves, and they maintained a lot of, like, there's a hand-painted curtain in there from when it was the St. Cloud Opera House. There's some of the original school desks from the St. Cloud Schoolhouse, our chalkboards too. I mean, it is unreal what's in that building as far as history of St. Cloud.
I can't speak for the city,
Oh yeah, I'm not, yeah.
but if you had Mayor Blackwell with you, there's a start.
Yeah.
There is. And just as a point of information, Miss Horning is the curator of the Historic Preservation Museum here in St. Cloud.
Oh, okay.
And so you and she can talk.
Yeah, and I also got their original curator in the museum had a book of some of the original pictures of the first homes. I found my house in there with some information about I don't know, but perhaps they gave me a copy of the book. Maybe the museum would like it.
Was it an orange cover?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have that, and then you have they had in the building they had something from Lincoln's funeral, an invitation to one of Lincoln's funeral in the building from the time capsule. It is wild stuff.
Sounds it.
Anyway, that's it.
Thank you very much. Member Lamug, did you have any comments?
No.
No. All right. That covers the individual boards. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, May 11th at 6 p.m. I'm assuming, Andre, that it'll be here at this location again now? Are we going to try and keep it to this location from now on?
From now on.
Okay. All right. And if that's the case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd so move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned.
Yes.